The article at hand, Are Zeros Your Ultimate Weapon?, was written by Thomas Guskey, a professor of education at the University of Kentucky. His research and writing focus on professional development and teacher change, specifically looking at assessment of student learning and grades. Guskey outlines the challenge teachers face with grading and the simple fact most teachers use grading formats they are comfortable with and know work, which is essentially what they had experienced in school. This format has become the norm as standardizing grades is important for feedback on the teacher's behalf as well as a key factor for students when applying to post-secondary education. As well, grading with a letter or number makes it easy to provide parents with student achievement and allow the students information for self-evaluation. With these important aspects regarding grading, teachers seldom agree on a single most important aspect, and as a result, not one is well executed, but rather many are partially achieved. Guskey further examines grading policies, discussing zeros, and using them as a form of punishment for failing to meet a deadline, among other reasons. This gives the teacher a form of control, directly as well as indirectly. As teachers do control grades, their low grade could lead to stricter punishment on the home front. For example, a 0 on a test could translate to missing hockey that night or not being able to play the Xbox. Guskey explains zeros are hardly a reflection of what the student has learned, and receiving a 0 can negatively impact the student's average and seriously affect their motivation and or self-esteem. This means a 0 can have the opposite effect teachers want because students will withdraw from learning and de-engage themselves during a class. Guskey understands teachers cannot grade work that has not been completed and or handed in, but there are better ways to develop students' behavior to hand in assignments by deadlines. Guskey describes 3 alternatives to giving students zeros. The first method incorporates out-of-school time for the student to complete their work, instilling responsibilities and definite consequences to their actions without a resulting 0. This is a fair and beneficial way to accurately represent a student's true learning. The second has teachers delegate marks in 2 ways. Number 1, achievement grades based on academic performance, and number 2, a separate grade that's based on homework, punctuality, participation, behavior, and things like that. This can actually be more time efficient for a teacher and definitely more meaningful for grade assessment. Thirdly, this is a shift from percentage to whole number scales. This would allow teachers to still administer a 0 but lessen the effect of the overall grade. Guskey finishes his article by outlining the importance of discussing grading and reporting, more specifically, the message that should be communicated through the grades. A quote directly from Guskey's article on page 2 explains, "No studies support the use of zeros or low grades as effective punishment." This directly aligns with the Growing Success document, as you can see by the quote on the slide, zeros do not help with student learning or success in the long run. Furthermore, on page 39 of Growing Success, it says the evaluation of students' learning is the responsibility of the teacher and must not include the judgment of the student. So, in turn, by giving a 0 for behavior, this is not professional judgment and is simply not backed by the Growing Success document. This quote is the first line in the evaluation section from Growing Success, which basically opposes the very thought of a 0 because how can a student improve if you are simply giving them a 0 or a number on a page? They cannot improve, strengthen their learning, or go forward from here without any feedback. Guskey outlines the importance of evaluation to provide feedback because the ultimate goal of evaluation is for the student to learn and improve. In order for this to occur, the grading policies must be fair, ongoing, varied in nature, and administered over time. Giving a 0 is an assessment of learning. According to the evaluation section of Growing Success, student achievement for evaluation is collected over time from 3 sources. Number 1, observations. Number 2, conversations. And number 3, student products. By using a number of sources, the evaluation is reliable and student learning is validated. This snippet from Growing Success strengthens Guskey's argument as he explains a 0 is seldom an accurate reflection of what a student has learned or is able to do. Because the 0 is most likely coming from a student product, which is only making up 1/3 of the source necessary for evaluation, this is not an accurate reflection of the student's progress or learning. Therefore, a 0 is never an accurate evaluation of a student's learning. When I reflect upon the justification and the effects a 0 can have on a student, I think back to my O'Neill placement, where I had a grade 11 travel and tourism class. In this class, many students were in jeopardy of missing the credit. And I believe if I had given a 0 or a low mark to these students, it would deflate them emotionally. I would completely lose them during the lesson, and their motivation to complete future assignments or participate in class would be minimal. I found a great way to encourage these students was to have a discussion with them if they had missed an assignment or if the assignment they had done, they weren't quite meeting the expectations. So the example I have for this is during a MAPL assignment during our Brazil unit, 2 students weren't quite meeting the expectations and they had some extra time in class, so I called them over and I gave them a chance to redo it, and I gave them specific pointers and asked if they had any further questions. And I found out that I actually didn't explain the assignment that well. So I believe having this open-minded approach can work, and ultimately we're there for the student's progress and learning. I have a greater understanding of the effects of giving a 0. I will take forward the impact grading can have on students and a clearer understanding of how to engage in formative and summative assessment. I have learned the value of formative assessment, and I will also be careful with summative assessment as Guskey and Growing Success demonstrate the demotivation and self-esteem effects it can have on a student. The example I have continually thought about during this assignment is a strong coach versus a weak coach. The strong coach doesn't stand on the sidelines yelling at you during the game because, well, it's the final product. You are in the game. You already know the ways to be successful. He may bring us in for a timeout or give a pointer, but ultimately it was the process which makes the end result successful. This is how I will tackle my assessment and evaluation to help my students learn.